Greetings, whiskey folk, and welcome back to Drinking Out Loud. My name is Adam Bradshaw, and I'm here at the Strath to tell you all about Particularly Peculiar Potpourri from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada's September 2023 Outturn. So, if you've ever been to one of my in-person outturns, you'll know that I put big slides up with like images that I found on Google Image, or actually more recently DuckDuckGo. There's better stuff on there that are tongue-in-cheek. I just Google the name a little bit and have it up there whilst we're all tasting it blind. And I often put those in the videos as well. I've decided not to do that now that we're in the short form, one video per bottle. But it took a lot of willpower not to just put a big old picture of cannabis up there, because I feel like Particularly Peculiar Potpourri is a really, really good name for a weed strain. And I actually, living in BC where that kind of thing's very legal, or Canada in general where that kind of thing's very legal, it's a fun game if you ever find yourself in a cannabis store, looking at some of the names on there and being like, yeah, that absolutely could be the name of an SMWS whiskey. There's things like Atomic Apple Pie or something, right? I feel like we should do one of those clickbait online quizzes of weed strain or SMWS name. Anyway, I digress. Particularly Peculiar Potpourri, a lovely little islands whiskey. Here are the official tasting notes from the panel over in Edinburgh. On the nose, we imagine some fancy potpourri heather and lavender sprigs, dried seaweed and rolling tobacco, all mixed together in a big wooden bowl with a drizzle of truffle honey. The palate gave us the dark sweetness of creme brulee, toffee apples and bitter chocolate. Then lemon tart and sucking on a lobster claw. All the time we were aware of teasing smoke, like salmon being hot smoked in the backyard, or a Nicaraguan cigar. At 6 years of age, we combined selected casks from this distillery, and then returned the single malt into various casks for further maturation. And this is one of those casks. So this is single malt Scotch whisky from a single cask that is not allowed to be called a single cask single malt Scotch whisky. Love the SWA. But yeah, no, in fairness, this is a blend of several casks that's then been married and then recast, and yeah, this doesn't really count, but it is confusing. So yeah, this single cask, not single cask whiskey is a beauty. I've had it a couple of times before already, and I'm going to have it for a third time right now. So what did I love about this whiskey in the past couple of times? I loved the beautiful note of sun-dried heather. It reminded me of going for walks with my dad in the Peak District, trampling through heather and bracken. There's a minerality to it as well. It's not just the heather, it's the rocks that really, that mixture of dried heather and rocks really remind me of sort of scrambling through the Peak District. Very nice. It's the greatest thing about going hiking in the UK, especially in England. It's a little bit more treacherous in the Highlands of Scotland, but it's not like here. If you go hiking here, you're putting your life into your own hands. There's bears and cougars and wilderness for forever. In England, basically, if you go hiking, well, if you get lost, just walk in one direction, and sooner or later you're going to find a pub. You'll be fine. Oh, yeah. Dried heather. Beautiful, beautiful note on the nose. It is smoky. It is, it's a distant, enticing smoke. It's not particularly strong, but it feels like it could get stronger if you get closer to the source, It feels like there's a cottage off in the distance while you're hiking with your dad in the Derbyshire Peak District. And that cottage is maybe using peat. I'm not sure. But it is light. This is one of the times where I absolutely agree with the SMWS's lightly peated flavour profile choice. Sometimes it's a little on the border there. And in fact, that's an interesting thing. I keep meaning to forget, Kelly and Rob. If you're watching this, and I understand if you don't watch all my videos, I wouldn't watch all of my videos. I've got a few. But if you are watching this, I have a question from several, actually, of our local members asking if anything ever came from the survey that the SMWS put out a little while back about making changes to the flavour profiles. Because I think one of the more common thoughts amongst members here was maybe getting rid of the lightly peated and heavily peated, and having more descriptive versions of peat. So it's not just, peat's all the same, but having a highland peat, or maybe like a coastal peat, Yeah. So that was a suggestion that we had over here in Victoria. I have no idea whatever came of that. Maybe they got all the submissions, put them all into a spreadsheet, pressed enter, and everyone equaled out to, yeah, let's keep it the same. that often happens. Sometimes we already have it the best way that we should have it. And there's no point in changing things just for the sake of change. Definitely more smoke on the palate than on the nose. That's a note I didn't find before. What's that? What is that? That's it's like having Golden Virginia rolling tobacco, but with a stick of licorice in there, flavoring the tobacco a little bit. That's nice. That's a deep, chewy flavor. That's nice. Light on the smoke, not light on the flavor by any stretch of the imagination. All right, the particulars. So we know that this was several casks of 6-year-old whiskey blended together. Let's find out what else is going on with this one. For a start, it's a 4.361 is the cask. So it's from distillery number 4. And this is something that I feel the SMWS needs to be more of a maverick to, mention the last whiskey I was just tasting in a previous video. If you haven't seen that, go back to it. I think they need to stand up to the SWA a little bit on this, because I really think that the islands deserve to be their own region. Now, the SMWS, they'll put on here for region, they just put Highland. And I get it, it's a sub-region of the Highlands, the islands. But so's Isla, so's Speyside, so's Campbellton, realistically. They're all just sub-regions of the Highlands. Anything that's not a Highland is a lowland. But I feel like there's enough history and divergent characteristics of island whiskey that it should be its own region. And I'm going to start a campaign right now that the SMWS should be putting Island on these bottles of Highland Park. Oh yeah, it's a Highland Park. It is a Highland Park that's... the youngest component was distilled on the 27th of January 2011 and has been aged for 11 years. There are 235 bottles of this that were ever made, and it came out at 62.9 ABV. Nice and potent. It doesn't taste like above 60. Honestly, this is maybe something to do in the blending process, and the recasking process has tamed it a little bit, but it's technically 62.9, or actually 62.9. No technicality about it, it's just fact. But it feels more like a 55er to me. Interesting thing about Highland Park, they use 20% of their own in-house malted barley. You get the rest from the mainland. The stuff they get from the mainland is unpeated. The stuff they get themselves is peated. And I've heard several people talk about this, especially locally. It's kind of, I'm wondering if this has kind of become like a, not urban legend, but like a Highland legend, I guess, island legend, that theoretically maybe Highland Park actually throws some sprigs of heather into the kiln with the peat. I can't find any actual information about that online. I might just be not very good at Googling things. That's, it is a skill. I haven't found anything to confirm or deny that. But one thing you can absolutely say is if they are harvesting their peat locally, which I believe they are, a lot of the peat makeup on Orkney is going to be heather and bracken and low-lying bushes and trees. It's not, and shrubs, It's not going to be the same kind of peat that you find on Isla. It's not, I believe it's not quite as low-lying. It's not going to have those iodine-rich seaweed notes. And it's not going to be the same as the Highlands, where it's going to be a lot more, trees. Yeah, so maybe there's heather in the peat itself. Maybe that's why it always comes out as heathery. But that is a common note with Highland Parks, and particularly prominent in this one. All right, so we have some of these bottles available right now at stratliquor.com/SMWS for $230.35. And I say right now because at the time of this video, that is launching on it's actually technically second Friday of the month this month at 10 a.m. That is true, but it might not be true for long, and it might not be true by the time you're watching this video. And if it's not true, check out smws.ca for information about where else in the country you might be able to pick this up. Because we are one of 5 SMWS stores here in Canada. All right, I will see you guys on the next video. Slideshow.
Folks out here are kind.